Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So as you know, I'm a little bit busy these days with twins. In fact, you're probably going to hear a lot of playing and horsing around in the background. My husband is entertaining them right now. So I'm not going to have a lot of time to read a book, make a video, read a book, make a video. So I'm going to do videos like these. They're just going to quickly encompass all of my recent reads, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The ones I've rated high, the ones that were just so-so, and the ones that are so terrible, it's probably going to turn into a rant. Because I had to work my way back into reading and kind of get used to it and reacclimate myself to being a reader, the easiest way for me to do that was with romance novels. They're easy to consume, can DNF one without feeling any guilt if I think it's really bad. I can make a quick judgment about whether I think the book is going to be bad or going to be good, and I can choose whether or not to continue reading. Like, it was just a comfortable way for me to get back into the swing of things. So this first video about the good, bad, and ugly is going to be strictly romance, but that's just because that's what I read. And going forward, it will probably contain books and genres that you're a little more used to seeing me read on this channel, like thrillers and horror and stuff like that. So these are my recent romance reads, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm going to start out with the good and work my way down to the ugly. First of all, my absolute favorite romance book that I read recently, working my way back into booktube, is Getting Schooled by Emma Chase. This is the story of Garrett and Calloway. It is a second chance romance. They were high school sweethearts torn apart by distance and one other thing that I can't really tell you because it's kind of a spoiler. When Calloway's parents become injured, she goes back to her hometown for about a year to take care of them and ends up taking over the drama teacher's position at the local high school, where Garrett is also a teacher and the head football coach. This book was laugh out loud funny. I listened to it on audio and I had a great time listening. It was laugh out loud funny. It was endearing. It was down to earth when it came to making teachers appear more human, as well as representing the teacher-student relationship, the coach-player relationship. It just worked all the way around. Another really great romance book, which romance is kind of an iffy category to place this in, but another great book that I read is Heartbreak Warfare, and this is co-authored by Kate Stewart and Heather Orgeron. Now, I'd heard of Kate Stewart before, but I'd never heard of Heather Orgeron. Heartbreak Warfare is the story of two soldiers captured and held as prisoners of war, and the emotional bond that they form because of those harrowing circumstances, and how they try to adjust once they are released and return home. Our hero is called Briggs. Our heroine is Catherine, or her nickname is Scotty. They start out the book kind of at odds with each other. You know, he's very flirtatious and just carefree in a lot of respects, while she is a medic. She's serious. She's also married with a son, but she's a dedicated soldier as well. They end up stationed together in Iraq, and then one day on a humanitarian mission, their convoy is attacked, and these two are captured as prisoners of war. I struggle to call this a romance. It's certainly not your typical romance. It contains very seriously represented repercussions of a situation like being a prisoner of war. This book is painful to read and so realistic in its portrayal of heartbreak and mental illness and post-traumatic stress disorder and the dissolution of relationships and the forming of others. And like, I was so emotionally moved by this book that, I mean, I bawled my eyes out. There's highly recommend this to any romance reader who looks for something a little bit more hard-hitting than your typical boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, happily ever romance. I was also lucky enough, as I kind of made my way back into reading, to discover R.S. Gray. She's a romance author that I hadn't read before. She's written quite a few romance novels. I happen to read two, The Fortunate Ones and The Beau and the Belle. The Fortunate Ones is about, first of all, if I've ever read a slow burn romance, it wasn't a successful one, because this slow burn romance, holy crap. The chemistry built up between the two characters is insane, and you spend a lot of time, will they, won't they, will they, won't they. The hero is James, the heroine I want to say is Brooke, I believe. Again, I listened to this on audio. And so they're very attracted to each other, but they're in very different parts of their lives. James is successful. He's been successful. He's built a company. He's like a millionaire, and he's ready to settle down. Meanwhile, our heroine is sort of just starting out in life, and she hasn't really found her place yet. What she does know is that she is most attracted to being an au pair or a tutor and traveling the world with whatever family hires her. She doesn't want to stay in one place. She doesn't want to settle down. So there's our conflict between our two characters who have this intense chemistry. Meanwhile, the book is funny, and R.S. Gray has earned probably a long time reader. I'm really glad to have stumbled upon this author. The other book that I read by R.S. Gray, The Beau and the Belle, wasn't as good, I felt, as The Fortunate Ones. It's sort of a forbidden romance, or an age gap romance, or taboo, or however you want to think about that. But it's about Lauren, a young girl whose family rents out the pool house on their estate, and an older college student moves in named Beau. They're attracted to each other, but Beau is focused on other things, like restoring his family name and not trying to get tied up with a 16-year-old girl. So he's a perfect gentleman, but basically these two characters end up meeting up later in life and kind of examining the chemistry they had felt for each other all along. Just an okay one for me, but definitely solidifying that R.S. Gray is a good romance writer that I need to pay further attention to in the future. Now, unfortunately, we're going to take a turn for the worse and start talking about the bad and the ugly. And I went back and forth between these two books on which one should be worse. And I think I finally settled on something. This next one got 2 stars. The last one got 1 star. This is Vicious by LJ Shen. I bought this book because of the outstanding ratings and reviews it received both on Amazon and Goodreads. It is the story of a guy called Vicious. Basically, he's this rich, entitled jerk who kind of falls for the daughter of his family's servants. Amelia's parents work for and on the estate that Vicious's family owns. I feel like I said that really awkwardly. Vicious is so screwed up in the head and so entitled and so much of a jerk that when he falls for Amelia and realizes he can't have her, he thinks it's a great idea to ruin her life by blackmailing her, by threatening her, and then they meet up again in the future. I have a lot of problems with this book, but it comes down to basically I could not get over how incredibly sucky the hero in this story is. I mean, I keep throwing around the word entitled, but basically he's just a jerk. I mean, all throughout the book, he calls this girl that he supposedly cares about help. Like, go get that help. Or you shouldn't be doing that help. Or what did I say to you? Help. Like, are you kidding me right now? So that's what ruined it for me. I could not get over how unbelievably ridiculous this guy is. I certainly wasn't swooning over him myself, and I definitely wasn't rooting for the two of them to be together. I actually liked Amelia. I didn't want her with Vicious. And if you can't root for the main relationship of your romance novel, it ain't a successful romance novel. Now, I gave this book 2 stars because I think it's a matter of preference. I think obviously there are a lot of people that can get over what kind of guy Vicious is and love the book. So says the reviews. I also have to give it to LJ Shen. While I find the content of the story distasteful, this is a self-published romance author, and truly this book did not read like a self-published romance. LJ Shen is a technically efficient and sufficient writer. I just didn't like the story she chose to craft. And it's really hard for me to say that and get there. And I had to think about this book a lot because I read a lot of dark romance with some heroes that do some positively deplorable things. So there was just something about Vicious. I mean, there's something about normalizing Vicious's character amongst most of the male characters in this book that I think really turned me off. He's a bully. His friends are the exact same way. Amelia puts up with it. Everybody else puts up with it. They're actually desired by the other females in the book. Like, nobody just wants to put them in their place. Like, I just couldn't. Still not the worst one that I'd read as of late. That honor goes to Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This is probably the most unpopular opinion I'm going to voice on BookTube in forever. People on BookTube that I love Birthday Girl, and I hated this book. I detested this book. I hated the story. I hated the writing. I hated the characters. Like, there's nothing about, like, this book, Birthday Girl gets 1 star, and let's face it, 1 star is like the participation award. I would give it less if it were possible, but it just isn't. Birthday Girl is the story of a girl named Jordan who's dating a boy named Cole and meets this older man that she has this instant attraction to. We'll come to find out that older man is actually her boyfriend's father. And because Jordan and Cole have fallen on some hard times, they have to move in with his father. Side note, not attractive. Guy's named Pike. Don't do it for me. So yeah, the story becomes about Jordan falling for Pike and vice versa. Now, I don't want to get too much into the story because I have a lot to say about why this doesn't work. A lot. This is a taboo romance, and with taboo romances, here's what the author has to do. The author has to turn our way of thinking from something being taboo to something actually being attractive, to us being sympathetic towards and attracted to and fully supporting the idea of this taboo. Penelope Douglas, while she's obviously a very established and successful romance author, does not do it in Birthday Girl. Because I think when you have a 19-year-old girl and a 38-year-old man, like, either the 19-year-old girl has to be so wise and mature beyond her years that she sort of catches up to the 38-year-old, or the 38-year-old has to be kind of an immature, unsure, like, they have to have characteristics that sort of allow them to meet somewhere in the middle. That doesn't happen in this book. You have a 19-year-old girl who is very immature and very much 19. And you have a 38-year-old man who the author spends all this time talking about how he's always done the right thing and he's always been mature beyond his years. And there's no reason that this 38-year-old man would be attracted to or consider ruining the relationship with his child to have this 19-year-old girl. It's trashy. The author should be villainizing the boyfriend enough to make it okay for these two people to come together. She doesn't successfully do that. There are a lot of ebooks on Amazon, self-published, by people who latch on to a certain money-making kink and write a book about it just to bring in the dough. It feels very much like Penelope Douglas is one of those authors. Only she's not. I expected more. It didn't deliver. This feels like a trash novel thrown out to capitalize on our attraction to something naughty. And I never once thought that what they were doing is okay. And I never once like believed it. I never bought into it. And oh my god, I could go on for hours about how much I hated this book. Like, I can imagine this sort of relationship between two people who cannot pry themselves away from each other. Two people who are soulmates or destined to be together or have so much in common that they can't breathe without the other person. Like, that's the relationship that needs to be established in order for me as a reader to accept that one character is putting a parental relationship on the line. They have this guy, this hero has so much to lose. He values his son and his relationship with his son over everything except this 19-year-old girl who has been treated shitty by her family and who doesn't have any money. Guess what? Poverty and neglect do not automatically make somebody mature. But I think that's what Penelope Douglas wants us to believe, that because Jordan has struggled financially and because Jordan doesn't have a support system in her family, that somehow she is a 30-year-old trapped in a 19-year-old's body. But she's not. She's incredibly immature, and neither one of them feel the level of guilt or remorse or conflict, inner conflict and turmoil that they deserve to feel for embarking on this questionable, relationship journey. Like, and I was all ready to support the novel, to support the relationship, to support the book. I mean, I certainly am not shy about questionable morality and the gray areas of right and wrong. Like, I could get behind this book if Penelope Douglas gave me a reason to, and she didn't. Everybody else will tell you it's phenomenal. It's not. That's all I have for you about my recent reads, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I feel like I might be leaving something out, but I certainly don't remember at this point what it is. Again, focus on the good. Getting Schooled by Emma Chase. Heartbreak Warfare by Kate Stewart and Heather M. Orgeron. And maybe check out some R.S. Gray if you're into that sort of thing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.